Our real concern is that we're lean in water. Even though we're using less than half of our water rights, it's just not there in the reservoirs. So we are not curtailed yet in the Amador water system. We are able to take water directly from the river, but that may change. That may change. This historic drought may place the state in a position to put a curtailment on the pre-1914 water rights. And so when that happens, then we will be monitoring those reservoir levels with PG&E as we use water and be forecasting towards the end of the year. The 25% reduction that President Farrington mentioned is something that the governor plans to carry out all the way till the end of next February. So it's not just through the fall, it's all the way to February. So keep that in mind. This is going to be going on for a little bit. The water agency, and as some of you know, as water purveyors, has to meet certain requirements for the state to achieve the 25% reduction. And there is a tiering of required reductions based on per capita water use from last year. And the water agency has been tasked with a 24% as the tiers currently stand. Some of you smaller agencies are going to be tasked with 25%. We need to figure out how to carry that out. As Director Farrington said, we achieved 14% last year. That's the state's record for the period in which they analyzed. We're going to have to do better than that. We're going to have to meet 24%. So that means we've got to step it up, and that's pretty significant. The actual state requirements have not been finalized. They are anticipated to be finalized on either May 4th or 5th next week. So we will be monitoring that closely. At this point in time, the Amador Water Agency has gone through and updated our policy for really water emergencies, water droughts. We have a 4-stage program that really kind of ratchets up the levels. Chris Thompson will go through a little bit more of that in a minute. We also have handouts of the stage that we're currently in. We're in a stage 2. Our board approved going to a stage 2, which we call a water alert. It allows for conservation measures up to 30%, but our board authorized that the target will be 25% reduction in water use. And so again, it's a steep call. We recognize that, not all water users are equal. Some of our upcountry water users don't have much in the way of yards, if any in some cases. And so their water reductions are already pretty low. And yet we need to make this 25% overall reduction. So I'm sure you have the same situation where some customers are going to be capable of reducing some and others not as much. With that, at this point, I think I'm going to turn this over to Chris Thompson, who can kind of go over a lot of the material that we've put together, the handouts that we have, things that we are doing as part of our conservation program. And then the hopes that we can kind of get an open dialogue with perhaps what you're doing, some of the things that we might be able to share back and forth, that we can help get copies, even perhaps get contact information from some of you so that we can continue to share information. But with that, Chris, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Well, with Lucy Hackett's help, we've done a lot of our press releases, as you all know, and copy. She does all the labor on that end of it and creation. So right now we have, we started some of it last year with our own door hangers. All our field personnel have door hangers that we did based on the restrictions, and we just updated them again. If they see water running down the street, somebody's sprinklers wrong and they're not supposed to be, that kind of thing, we're leaving them. We're not being aggressive. It's just, hey, FYI, did you know? They probably didn't know. And we notify them. But we're also tracking. We're tracking phone calls from our customers. making sure that, hey, so-and-so at whatever address, their water's on, they're running it down. We call them as a courtesy, and then if it's a second incident, which we only had maybe one last year, I imagine we'll probably have more this year. I hope not, but that's reality. Then we'll follow it up. But we haven't been to the point where we're shutting anybody off or any of that. It's not our goal. Our message to our employees is it's not our goal to be out there penalizing anybody or fines. We don't have that. We had that discussion last week before. But we are trying to get the message out. So we have, the website's been updated. We have, I don't know if you guys may saw in Ledger Dispatch last Friday, we're running the conservation ad, which I have a copy of somewhere in here. And we'll continue to run that based on the restrictions. If it changes, we go to stage 3 or more, then we'll do that. I have a copy somewhere. Anyway, it will continue to run. We're doing buy and sell press. Help me out, Lucy. You know them off the top of your head.
Right now we have ads in the Upcountry News, buy and sell press, the Ledger Dispatch, and KBGC radio currently.
Right, so the radio's doing 15-second spots. I don't know if you've heard any of them, so we're trying to get the message out that way. We got the templates from saveourwater.org, isn't that where we? So we have table tents for those of you who have restaurants in the cities. We also have some for the hotels. If you want to use these, you're welcome to use them. We can give you the template. And we just ordered the paper from Staples, and they're all here. So those are available. Like I said, I can send you the template, whatever you think you might need. Same with the door hangers. Our giveaways, we started last year with the shower heads. People have their choice, one per household. The shower heads, the aerators, or the toilet tank kits. We really wanted to focus something on outdoor, but as you know, the outdoor stuff is very expensive, very expensive. Even these were $5.50, I think, with a quantity of a couple hundred. So, we're kind of at, yeah, we can do the giveaways, but it's really about just educating, get everybody on the same page and have the same message. So we have coloring books. Damon did a talk at one of the after-school programs. We're available to do that as requested. We're not really totally set up for it yet, but we're kind of doing it as we're requested, we're just making it work. So we have the recycle books. All of this, as you all know, this whole thing it costs money. So if you're interested in purchasing or going in, I mean, we can do, obviously we get a better price if we order together and split it up. But there's lots and lots of ways to try to expedite this for all of us to make it a little bit less intense. And I know we're all feeling it, especially with staffing levels and whatnot. So
we are working with all the employees to carry packets in their trucks and vehicles to hand out to individuals. So it's not just as they are called, as we get a phone call, it's also as they're driving around if they see something. So they carry around these door hangers and other information to share with the public. Handout, we have a pamphlet that we can hand out to customers, let them know.
We've created the home water audits. They're all carrying these in their trucks as well. Same with the stage 2 conditions, just to keep themselves on target too. It's hard, we're all here, we all know, but they don't always know. So we're trying to make sure that everybody's educated and aware of, what's going on out there and what the expectation is. As far as the basically it's 5 levels, the normal level, and then there's 4 stages of conservation. So right now, as you know, we're in stage 2, which goes up to 30%. Stage 3 would be a 40% reduction, which basically all the same limitations with the exception of 2-day-a-week watering would go down to 1. And then it ratchets up from there. You have to fix leaks within 3 days, and then the 50%, obviously, if we got to the stage 4, it's no outdoor watering at all. So we followed the regional water authorities guidelines on that. Don't water between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Well, why don't you go ahead and go down through our stage 2.
Our stage 2. My glasses on. Since I don't have it memorized, I got it.
And these, for the most part, at least at minimum, cover all of the requirements from the governor, basically what's coming down from the executive order, what DWR is working on, the state, but they follow guidelines that are out there today, so.
Right, and I imagine as things get ratcheted up or the governor, they come out with more, we'll probably have to revise again, but this is the latest. So
Do you have an extra copy for everybody?
I have a
or-
bunch of them where they are. Printed them.
Oh, no.
Here's the ad I was talking about. There's a copy of the ad. There you go.
Start this around, both ways.
So stage 2, all customers will observe practices to achieve at least a 30% reduction in their monthly water use over 2013 usage. We have a graph on our bill. I don't know what everybody else has, but our graph was showing month-to-month comparison. Now we're changing that graph to be, when May comes out, it'll be April 2013, April 2014, April 2015 comparisons. And we'll continue on with that. Hopefully that'll start with our billing cycle next week, so people at least be able to tell what they used in 2013 versus what they're using now. As you know, sometimes those things don't happen overnight, so we've been working on that for a couple weeks. Discontinue watering lawns and gardens or any other irrigation between the hours of 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. There was a question about this. Some people have to adjust. School district, I know, has an issue sometimes, timing-wise and staffing, and it's going to have to be probably case by case. The times can be adjusted. I kind of looked at a bunch of other water districts, and it ranges. Don't water between 10 and 8. Timing-wise and staffing, and it's going to have to be probably case by case. The times can be adjusted. I kind of looked at a bunch of other water districts, and it ranges. Don't water between 10 and 8, 9 and 7. It's all kind of in that same window, just so you know. Require restaurants to only serve water to customers upon request. This is Paul's personal mission when we go to lunch, tell him not to serve us water. All runoff and street flooding from outdoor irrigation is prohibited. No unattended watering except where automatic shutoff equipment is used. Automatic shutoff nozzles or valves are required when washing cars and other vehicles. Washing sidewalks, driveways, patios, parking lots, and tennis courts with water is prohibited. Use of water conservation kits supplied by AWA or other water utilities. Maintaining pools, hot tubs, and fire protection storage facilities at normal operating levels is permitted. Sorry, I missed. Emptying and refilling of swimming pools and hot tubs is prohibited. Drinking water may be used in decorative fountains if equipped with a recirculation system. Drinking water may not be used in scenic ponds and lakes except for the minimum amount needed to support existing aquatic life. Applications for new service connections shall be granted only on the condition that the water shall be used for interior purposes and not for lawn or gardening, watering, or any other irrigation used for the duration of the drought emergency. No irrigation of new landscaping will be permitted during a drought emergency for new construction. Use of concentrate, oh, that's a duplicate again. Fix leaky or faulty sprinklers within 5 days. Warm, dry season. Up to 2 days per week, turf watering when using potable water. Plant containers, trees, shrubs, and vegetable gardens may be watered additional days using only drip irrigation or hand watering, provided that any such drip irrigation system or hose is equipped with a working and activated automatic shutoff device. Cool, wet season, turf shall not be watered unless using non-potable water during extended dry spells. Plant containers, it's the same thing as drip irrigation, hand watering, provided that any such drip irrigation system or hose is equipped with a working or activated automatic shutoff device. So this one has 2 bullets of the same in it, that's okay. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We've had a lot of phone calls. Well, what 2 days? What 2 days should I water? How long should I water? What 2 days should I water? So, we didn't restrict it to any specific days. We have a hard time tracking if we told them Tuesday, Thursday, and so we're not quite there. We may revisit that, but at this point it's just on your honor 2 days a week. So that's where we're at. I know that Mule Creek did a lot last year to reduce their usage, so I'd really like to hear what everybody else is doing. I mean, we're all trying with limited resources.
So we've gone a little extreme. The governor looks at our department as a whole, not just Mule Creek State Prison. So currently we're at 33% savings throughout 2013. And this last week I have chained and locked off all irrigation to every piece of grass in the place for Mule Creek and Preston. So the city of Ione, the nice green grass strip going down into town is no longer going to be there. We'll be sustaining trees, and that's it. We're removing all hoses from dining rooms. We are broadcasting 24 hours a day on the inmate television. Water conservation measures. I fully expect to be in the 40% range by the end of next month. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
But there's a lot of other prisons that aren't making that quota, so
Right.
us saving more with it's better than somebody else's.
Right. Well, it is the collective, I guess, right?
Yes.
That's what we're all saying. You know, some people like Rich aren't going to be able to save anymore, and others will. So I use Rich as the poster child. I keep telling him I'm going to check his meter. So.
Go ahead.
Something, try to, if I don't mind putting Mike Israel on the spot as he walks back in, but Mike, I understand there were perhaps some new requirements or recent requirements from the county about the use of gray water. Can you expand on it a little bit? I mean, that's something that people might be able to use bath water or sink water for use in their outdoor plants. Is that, can you expand on that?
Yeah, that's essentially correct. Chapter 16A of the State Plumbing Code addresses gray water systems. There are laundry to landscape systems, which is only washing machine water. You can do that as long as you comply with the state's criteria, and we have a handout, there are 12. It doesn't require perimeter inspection by our office. When we get phone calls in, that's one of the first things that I suggest people that they explore. There are simple gray water systems that collect water from all indoor plumbing fixtures except for kitchen sinks, dishwashers, and toilets. But all other water, including laundry, shower, hand sinks, is diverted to a separate gray water system. And that would be installed pursuant to a permanent inspection by our office. You have to maintain a 2-inch separation barrier over the top of your permanently installed irrigation system. So what that means is you can't have a hose that you take from plant to plant with the system. They have to be permanently installed with a minimum 2-inch barrier over the top. Usually that would be mulch or gravel in a basin around a tree or a shrub. You could also install shallow leach fields or even drip systems if you wanted to pump to pressurize. A lot of times people might have landscaping that is at a higher elevation that they need to get the water up to anyway. So that reuses the water that otherwise would just be going into the septic system and recharging groundwater, but not providing that irrigation benefit.
Great, thank you.
One of our other challenges that I'm sure you're all aware of is the hydrants. People taking water from hydrants, and other customers think, you know, they shouldn't be. They're either stealing the water or whatever. I know we have a lot of reports of that in ION. We've come up internally with a process. There is no load counting. We used to have some where people just would go grab a load of water. That's no longer. We will be requiring them to go to one of the treatment plants, or they make arrangements to meet one of our field personnel out in the field, and they will have the hydrant meter when they will monitor the draw and track it. So it's a little bit of a change for us, but it's better all the way around. We're going to hopefully be able to use more raw than treated, but try to limit what's being drawn off the hydrants as it is. So.
Well, one of the opportunities with that is we can facilitate, flushing within our distribution systems by allowing people that need water for construction use to pull off of hydrants in those areas. So that's one thing we're going to direct our distribution staff to.
And the flushing now is, based on our state engineer, we do it as we need to for chlorine residuals, water quality, but not on that regular routine that we were always in. Every month we're doing X amount of hydrants. The dead ends will still be done. So it's based on our operators' knowledge and skills. So we're trying to eliminate having water just flowing from the hydrants. So, what else?
What are some of the cities doing? Are there any or other agency purveyors who'd like to share?
We had about all the same things you have in your sheet here. The only other thing was no watering within 48 hours after a storm, which we did see. There are still a lot of, especially the commercial centers with automatic sprinkler systems. We saw one that was going off quite a bit on Saturday and had a missing sprinkler head that was shooting straight up in the air. But somebody called that into us, and I think we're seeing a lot more of that than what we used to have as far as people alerting us to when they see other people abusing water. Of course, the other big thing that we're holding off on, like water agency, is on the rate increases that were being planned to both make up for lost revenue because of people saving so much water and to encourage conservation, which is, since we have 2 tiers, and the water agency has 3 tiers, with the San Juan Campus Drough decision, kind of waiting to see what happens with that. So,
How about medium strips?
we don't have any. How about that? The only public lawn we have is in Deer Park and at Ivy Field, the baseball field. We are looking at AstroTurf too, for Ivy Field, because it's amazing how much water a week watering. Because we did a look to see how much water we use and where the revenue comes from. And I think 90% of our revenue comes from people who use 7 units or more water a month. But less than half of our customers use that much water. So it was really interesting to see that. But I think irrigation is the big key to the long, or to the big savings in terms of conservation. So we'll see how it goes.
And sometimes we, we know information, we take it for granted, but just, from a water usage standpoint, it's typical from the Amador Water Agency standpoint of about, and the peak day of the summer is about twice what you use in the average day. And so July, August, in those time frames, we're approaching twice as much water goes into the system than would go into an average month like maybe October or April. And really that represents that outdoor watering. So that outdoor yard watering is really a significant amount of water at nearly, equal to what people would use in their homes approximately.
And I believe it to be grass more than plants or trees.
Absolutely.
People want their lawns green.
We haven't seen this yet, but part of the governor, his April 1st executive order was actually looking at, I don't have the numbers here, the number of acres of lawn that he's looking to replace. Million square feet. And, that's pretty substantial. There's also intended to be programs for high-efficiency appliances. We haven't seen those guidelines yet, but we expect that there could be hopefully some grant money out there that may be available that we can help boost our programs, rebate programs that can help to get those appliances in. We do have a program that we were able to get some grant money through the Upper Macomb River watershed. It's going to be targeted in the Comanche area to replace toilets, so high efficiency toilets in that area. We're hoping that we can expand on that at some point. It's been a financial issue, but we're hoping to get funding that would allow more rebate programs to go in place for high efficiency toilets and other devices, washing machines.
That's off of 4 wells, Comanche, by the way.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I have a question, Mike. Someone stopped me the other day, and I think it applies maybe to Sutter Creek and perhaps to Ione. How does conservation affect your dilution ratios?
Not a problem.
Not a problem? Okay, someone asked me and I thought I'd ask. And then how if in Sutter Creek and Ione and Amador City, who is not here, where we sell water directly to the customer, how are we going to communicate when you get a call, for example, Amy, from a resident in Sutter Creek? Are you going to let us know, or are you going to deal with it the same maybe in Ione? I was wondering.
We've typically referred the calls directly to Amador Water Agency, so we'll tell the customer that is telling out his neighbor that the Amador Water Agency takes care of those issues. So we can come up with, if there's something else you would rather do, but that's really my understanding of,
Well, I'm wondering if it gets to the point where we really have to get on people who are cited one time, for example. How are we going to do that? And if the city gets involved, should they? Is there some kind of, we're going to have to get into forums where, I hope not, but I'm wondering how that's going to work.
I had suggested a couple of weeks ago I don't think you were here, Paul, but I had suggested that the water agency approach the city about putting that in our ordinance so that we would have that legal authority to cite customers who aren't following through. But until it's in our ordinance, we don't have that authority.
Right.
So that you request us to give us that authority so the police officer could cite residents for allowing their water to continue to run without,
Do we have it?
We don't have that authority to do that. We haven't requested that of the city yet. I have talked to our attorney, and one of the tricks for us is to make that consistent with all of our customers. So it's not just if you're in the city of Sutter Creek and you could be fined if you don't follow these, and then in the county, they don't get fined. So we need to find ways to be consistent. And so I think that's something as this goes on, we may take a look at that. I think that the concept of having these reports, forwarded to the agency, I don't know, trying to be efficient and thinking on our feet right now, whether or not it's something that someone could simply jot a note down and then email us, rather than having that customer having to call again or being transferred. That may kind of have a chilling effect on them wanting to report. I don't know. It's not intended that they have to go through a large process to actually get to somebody that could do something about it. I mean, we will investigate it once we do hear about it. By the way, if somebody doesn't follow the rules, first attempt is to try to make them aware. We go out there, provide them a door hanger if they're not there, but we will try to make contact with the individual. But if they continue to not fix that problem or modify the behavior, what we will do is eventually we can put a restriction on their service. Not a popular thing to do, but that is one of the alternatives. Plus, just the fact of having to go out and install some type of a flow restriction device has a charge associated with our time to go out to install that or to take it off. We're hoping that we don't have to go that far. We're hoping that just being able to actually sit down and talk with an individual, let them know, explain to them why this is important, that they're actually going to correct those activities.
Paul.
Gene, this thing on ordinances, we started looking at that about 30 or 40 days ago, and based on advice we've gotten from the legal department at California Special Districts, we can, as a CSD, pass an ordinance and enforce state law. Just word it right. But we can do it. So that would apply down here too, I think.
speaking of ordinances, the gray water ordinance, does every city have to adopt the ordinance? My understanding is what everyone would have to adopt the ordinance to allow for it, but I'm not really familiar with
As
it.
I understand it, plumbing code, like the building code, unless the local jurisdiction adopts an ordinance modifying or prohibiting it,
Okay.
it is in place. So the only question is, would you like our office to oversee the permitting and inspection of those systems the way we would a septic system inside the cities, or do you want to deal with it yourself? And you can think about that and get back to me later.
Thanks.
But you're talking about plumbing, replumbing or whatever. I mean, there are ways of catching wash water, or, you know, I know some guys that run their shower till the water's hot. And I mean, you can catch that and put it on your plants or flush your toilet with it. So you're sort of reusing that gray water, so to speak, right there in the house.
But bucket capture is not regulated. You're welcome to do that to your heart's content.
Oh, good.
It's when you divert plumbing that a permit might be required.
Right.
And there are customers that are doing that. They are taking a bucket in with them in the shower and then using that to water their outside plants. On our website, I think we also have some recommended other sites, besides other suggestions that people can go to. And we can share some of those websites, but there's a number of different great websites that are out there. Also, while I'm thinking about it, I'll start this around. It's a kind of a sign up with name and address and email. If you don't mind filling that out as if you're the contact for your organization, put that down and we could use that as kind of as a share. In fact, we can also distribute that list to everybody that signs up so that you'll have others' emails as well if you want to get in contact with individuals that might share information with or to and from.
How is this 30% going to be measured, what's in the cost individual or, the wholesale people versus the retail people, or how are you going to measure individually?
Well, the target that the agency board set was 25%. And we're not going to be looking at individual customers. We're going to be looking on the aggregate basis. I mean, that's how the state's going to look at us. They're not going to look at individually. They're going to look at
everybody in AWA.
Right. I mean, at this point, we're not really focusing on individual customers. However, as Chris mentioned, in our billing, we have a graph, and we're going to be modifying that so that rather than looking at just last year, it's going to show your current usage in comparison to 2013, because that's the basis that the state has set, is a reduction of 25% from 2013 use. So we're actually going to use that as a tool in the bill so that customers can see what they're using now versus what they used in 2013. But outside of that, I mean, our goal is working as a team, as a whole, an aggregate, all of our customers rather than individuals. And we recognize, I think as I kind of mentioned, that upcountry we don't expect is going to be able to reduce water use as much as down in some of the lower elevations. We see routinely that on an average, the Pioneer area, Pine Grove, Grad Park, Mace Meadows, uses about 200 to 250 gallons per day on average, where when we come down in the lower elevations, it's more like 350, 370 gallons per day per connection for a residential home. And we also know that some of the newer homes are more efficient and they're using less water, and some of the older homes use more. Well, hopefully, we kind of refer to those as vintage fixtures, and we're hoping that some of those are going to get upgraded over time to more efficient